What's the good word, y'all? DKB here. So, Derek Carr, huge update. According to sources that spoke to Jeremy Fowler, the Las Vegas Raiders have blessed Derek Carr and granted permission to speak to the New Orleans Saints this Wednesday, tomorrow. I want to say this news came out of nowhere, but I just spoke recently about the Saints kind of becoming a power play opponent. And they have a lot of reasons to go out there and try to secure the quarterback position for themselves. The Saints are one of those teams for the salary cap people that have consistently been able to push money all over the place in order to still conduct huge signings and retain what they would consider key free agents for themselves at the time. So they are at the forethought of a lot of people's minds when it comes to the off season and what can happen with them. So again, a very, very motivated team. You also have to keep in mind there's some connective tissue there. Head coach Dennis Allen for the Saints was the person that drafted Derek Carr. He's extremely intimate and familiar with what he was able to do. Derek Carr has only progressed since his rookie year, so that would be a huge win in the comfortability department for him. He could build an offense around what he does very well, and they have been able to retool fairly effectively in the draft. And then again, they've been out here as pretty key components in free agency, whether it's been keeping some of their big names from hitting and going out there and finding new teams, or it's been out there and making a pretty significant splash move or two. Not let alone the fact that Derek Carr would be extremely comfortable in that environment. I would assume great franchise, great winning track record in history. He'll have Dennis Allen in the building. He won't have to look over his shoulders. With the quarterback side, from the Saints' perspective, again, they have motivations to keep this thing going. They want to try to extend their playoff window for as long as they fathomably can. And we're talking about the Saints being, not too far removed from a situation that we just dealt with in terms of rotating a bunch of quarterbacks, since they also had to start 4 in 2020. So they obviously want to lock down their position for the next, 3 to 5 years, ideally. One thing that's going to be stopping them, and as I mentioned, this is where the cap situation, they're going to have to finesse like, no other season before if they do want to try to make this move. They're somewhere between the range of 59 and about 60 million. ESPN said about 55. So let's just go somewhere between 55 million to 60 million over the cap. And so just to break even, they're going to have to find a way to restructure, cut a lot of significant pieces for themselves, and then they still need to find the money to try to fit Derek Carr's contract in, whether they trade for him, whether they wait till February 15th hits and everybody expects the Las Vegas Raiders to go ahead and cut Derek Carr. But still, it's going to be a lot of jumps, a lot of hurdles for them to have to go through with there. If they want to try to bypass all of that, again, even though the Saints were coming on pretty strong as of, a day or two ago when I mentioned the news, I wasn't expecting them to be the first team to go ahead and put a visit into place, which if the New York Jets want to get something done and this is their guy, he might not walk out tomorrow still being a Raider and, wearing black and gold instead of black and silver suddenly. The Saints, if they want to make that done, they do have 7 draft picks at their disposal. They do have a round 1, which is a later 29th pick due to the Sean Payton trade to the Broncos, essentially. But they have picks in the first 3 rounds, so if they want to try to package something like that together, Derek Carr isn't going to go for nearly as much as what an Aaron Rodgers is, but they, can do some creative movement depending on how strongly they feel about Derek Carr. But one thing to also keep in mind will be, knowing that this visit got confirmed in some of the information I covered yesterday, it was said that the Raiders have only granted him permission to speak to the teams that have already essentially agreed to some kind of deal in theory. So essentially, the writing's already done. It's just a matter of how comfortable Dennis Allen is going to be bringing Derek Carr back on board and, trying to get this franchise back on the playoff track and chasing a Super Bowl for the next couple of years. So a tough blow for us. is starting to look really starting to look pretty bad, especially with the Aaron Rodgers news about him, going on his retreat in a couple of weeks and making a decision about playing from there. But like I mentioned, options potentially are going to dwindle fast. But Derek Carr with a meeting with the Saints tomorrow. Let me know what your guys' thoughts are. Do you foresee the Saints locking this up pretty quickly, or is this them, this just them doing their due diligence and trying to set the standard for the quarterback market? Either way, appreciate you guys. I'll catch you again. Peace.